Hey TK, it's time for us to do some handwriting and phonics. Let's go over our objectives so we can see what we're working with letter Y today. Objective is what we are going to learn. I can sort words that begin with Y or do not begin with Y. So we're working on our letter sort today. We're going to head down to the screen and we will begin with sorting our Y words. Alright, so we're going to get started on our word sort. So I just zoomed in my page here so you can see a little bit. You're going to write your name at the top and then trace your Y's. I've done two so you can see. I'll do one more. I start at the red dot, I make a line down, then I go to the top again and go down from the top. And then you can finish tracing your Y's. Now I'm going to go down, I'm going to scroll down so you can see the rest of the page here. So now we need to get started on sorting our words and thinking, do they begin with the y sound or do they not begin with Y? We are going to start over here at the top left with our dinosaur. Dinosaur. Does dinosaur begin with the y sound? No, it does not. Dinosaur begins with a D sound. So I am going to put an X over my dinosaur. It does not begin with the Y sound. And we would put it in the column with the X over the Y because it does not begin with Y. Let's move on to our next picture. Yawn. Yawn. Does that begin with the Y sound? Remember, Y says y. Yes, it does. So I'm going to write a Y on my yawn. That signals that if I were to cut it out, I would put it in my top row here. Let's move on to our next one. Yogurt. Yogurt. Does yogurt begin with Y? It sure does. It also begins with the y sound. So if I were to cut it out, I would put it on my top row here. So I'm going to write a letter Y to signal that. Now let's do yarn. Yarn. Does yarn begin with letter Y? It sure does. It also begins with Y. So here I'm writing a Y on it, and if I were to cut it out, I would go ahead and put that in my top row as well. Let's move on to the bottom row. We're going to start back on the left side with some pizza. Pizza. Does pizza begin with Y? No, it does not. Pizza begins with the letter P sound. So I'm putting an X over it because it does not begin with Y. So if we cut it out, we would put it on our bottom row. Let's move on to this picture. Some hay. Hay. Does hay begin with Y? No, it doesn't. Hay begins with the letter H. H says, so I'm going to put an X over it, and if I were to cut it out, I would be putting it in my bottom row. Let's go to the next picture. We've got some crayons. Crayons. Does crayons begin with Y? No, it doesn't. Crayons begins with our letter C. So I'm going to put an X over it, and those crayons would go in our bottom row. All right, last one. Yo-yo. Yo-yo. Does yo-yo begin with letter Y? It sure does. It makes that y sound in the beginning. So I would cut out my yo-yo and put it on top. And that's our word sort. Go ahead, color in your pictures and take a picture for me. I'm super excited to see your work.